Hey there, my YouTube people. Well, this might be an interesting video to do. At some point in most people's lives, especially people who have struggled, there's a point where your life is on this tightrope, okay, and it's very precarious. It could go one way or it could go the other, right? And you are part of the influence of that tipping point. Okay, you could tip your life in one direction or the other. So I've been trying to think about that. Is where did my life get derailed, right? And before I go on here, it is going to sound like I'm blaming a female for this, but I'm not really. Allow me to continue, and I think it'll be more clear. I started tech school in the summer of 1997. Okay, somewhere around June, July. I'm not sure when TSTC's trimester started back then, but I was, it was around that time. Started college in the summer of '97, just right after weeks after I got out of high school. And watch my TSTC video for better details on that. And things were going pretty good. I would have liked a little bit more of a break. I would have probably, in all honesty, wanted to take that entire summer off. But my dad kind of said that just wasn't an option. I needed to, if I was going to stay at the house, I had to have a job, or I had to be in school. So I thought school would lead to a better job. I don't know that I got into the best program for that. I studied graphic arts, and with no way of being sure that I'd ever be able to get out of the valley. I mean, that was a pretty rough occupation to get started in. There's only one graphics house in the valley, in Brownsville or McAllen or something like that. I even forget what they were called. Maybe it'll come to me. Actually went and toured their company while I was in the program. It was kind of neat. So I probably should have chosen a little better program. I could almost say that is a tiny bit of it. I sort of took the newer, oh, this is going to be a cool field kind of program, but I don't. My father's a great, paper and pencil and paint, artist. I'm much better at music and stuff like that, so I kind of started having doubts about my abilities as a graphic artist. My work was okay, but I never had the best work in the class. I never even had the most unique work in the class a lot of the time. Hey! Sorry. I never had the most unique work in the class a lot of the time. So there were certain aspects of graphic arts that I was very good at, but the majority of the program I didn't excel in. I did okay. I had anywhere between a 3.0 and a 3.5 GPA. So that could be a little bit of it. I'm not exactly saying that that's the turning point, but I feel like I maybe should have gotten into a little more doable program in the valley, because I wound up being stuck in the valley for a couple decades. Like a decade, almost a decade longer. You know what I mean? I feel like I should have maybe like gotten into like air conditioning or HVAC, or CNC operating, or a number of other technical fields that welding, could have been like I could have gotten a job in the valley making like 30, 40, 50K a year, like that. And and also probably could have done so relatively soon after graduating. And the other thing involving that I wish I had done is just pursued the certificate instead of the full-on associates, because I struggle with math and stuff like that, and college algebra was a very kind of difficult course for me. I ended up having to take college algebra like 3 or 4 times. I couldn't even tell you if I ever passed it. I think that was going to wind up, I may have gotten like a D. I may have passed college algebra eventually with like a D. I've never had hugely strong math skills, and remembering steps to stuff has always been kind of like, I usually have to make lists and stuff at first. So I wish I'd picked a program with a little more legs to it, and I wish I had that would have given me a little more options too, since the graphic houses were in the valley were very limited. One or two actually did work for a graphics house in Harlingen called Tom Rowe and Associates for a while. Really hugely wealthy guy in the valley. Even then, I mean, he's like probably like just like everybody knows Tom Rowe. All the valley people in my as my subscribers, if I'd be surprised if none of you know Tom Rowe. There's another guy I worked for at his ranch named Tom Bryant. A lot of older valley people know Tom Bryant too. Tom Bryant and Tom Rowe knew each other. And Tom Bryant told me I, shouldn't work for. They didn't have like the best opinion of each other, I guess. Anyway, segue there, but so that I kind of started to get a little bit. I really liked kind of the 2D stuff. But as we started to get into the 3D stuff, I just wasn't enjoying that as much. It all seemed too involved and complex. 2D was like a lot easier for me to understand and work with, and that's where I feel like I, really kind of excelled in the program. A lot of people in the program were wanting to do, Star Wars, like the Clone Wars shit, and I was wanting to do like Brendan Small stuff, like home movies and Metalocalypse. That was more my kind of like director-based, shockwave-based stuff. Back then, it was director, Macromedia director. Then it, changed to some other things. But where I feel like the catalyst really, where that tipping point really happened hard, was when the girl I had a crush on in high school moved back to Harlingen and kind of ran into me again. And I'm glad she did that. We didn't. We wound up being in a relationship for a long while, long enough for us to become common law partners. So I met and moved in with my first common law partner while I was in college, like when I was like 19. And that kind of created another set of responsibilities, right? Because at that point, I wasn't just living at home above the garage at my parents' place anymore. You know, I was living in a full-on apartment. I had a partner who relied on me, and I relied on her. And I mentioned in my TSTC video that I took a job with Microsoft at a call center for dial-up tech support that opened up at the time. And in like the early 2000s in Harlingen, this job was paying $9.50 an hour for graveyard. And if I had been a Spanish speaker, I could have been making $10 an hour in the Valley in the early 2000s, which was really good money. A lot of people probably were going, what? But like, all you Valley people know that like, if you were making $10 an hour, I mean, hell, if you're making $10 an hour in the Valley now, you're probably pretty lucky. But almost every freaking job in the Valley back then paid $7.25. I was a fraud agent for 2 separate banks making $7.25 an hour. I mean, a fraud investigator making $7.25 an hour. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there going, you know, I'm making really good money, and and it had, from my point of view, a little bit different set of responsibilities. And as much as I kind of tried to continue going to school, it just never... We both did. We both continued to try to go to school. It's not that we didn't recognize the value of having degrees, especially back then. They were worth a lot more back then. I mean, nowadays you're lucky if your degree is worth the paper it's printed on. But back then, a degree, even an associate's, was a pretty powerful thing. So, you know, we were very keen to get our degrees. It's just that we were spread pretty thin. On top of working for Microsoft, I was also working at her grandparents' bird ranch. They also had cattle and stuff. So it was a pretty demanding job most days. Yeah, and at some point, school just kind of went by the wayside, and I had been gone so long I would have had to start my program over. So, kind of from that point, especially from the point where she left, when she left me, my life has been a struggle, absolutely. From that point, now again, if I had thought things out a little bit better, I probably would have kind of come to realize that things just weren't... I should have been more focused. I was very focused before getting involved with her, but having a really good, especially at first, significant other in my life really kind of changed my attitudes on a few things. Um, yeah, yeah. Ever since, I'd say, ever since about 99, 99, 2000, um, was sort of when I made that questionable decision to, well, include someone else in my life long term. Um, and around 2003 was kind of when she left. Definitely since 2003, I have been struggling really, really hard. I simply have not been able to get my life back on track. And of course, I've changed as a person since then. So I don't really, at this point, have a lot of the same ideals and stuff, or even understand some things any better than, like, people keep talking about the American dream, and I have a certain idea of what the American dream is, and it's not what we've been doing for the last 100 years. The American dream seems to be, I'm going to work all the time. I'm going to work all the time. I'm not going to have any personal time. I'm not going to have any time for my family. I'm not going to have any time to do, like, any errands or make myself a decent meal. That seems to be what the American dream is. And, you know, go live in some gulag and do that. At least they'd give you 3 squares a day, you know. There's this documentary on YouTube. I forget. I think it's called High Score, and there was this Japanese guy in that movie or that documentary who went to one of the first Nintendo competitions, and he kind of felt the same way. He didn't understand the corporate need of some people to, like, you know, get promoted and do well and move up the ladder and stuff like that. Like, he just was like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do something more enjoyable with your life or whatever. He wanted to play video games. That's what he did. You know, he worked a regular job for a while, was not satisfied. I like my current part-time job a lot. I have had that job a long time. This year, officially 10 years. That is a long time for me to hold on to a job. I enjoy it. It has a very flexible schedule. It's a manageable amount of hours most weeks. I wish it paid a little bit more. I can take time off when I want. I can take holidays off. I can, you know, if I want to take 3 months off, my boss would probably let me do it. He wouldn't pay me, but I mean, the point is, I'd still have a job in 3 months. I can't say honestly that I have ever felt fulfilled doing any of the jobs I've done. I like this one. I have had fulfilling moments at this one. But I'm sitting here trying to think about all of the other jobs I've had, which are numerous. And I do not have a feeling of fulfillment. Maybe I just view different things as fulfilling. I view the freedom of your time as real wealth, you know. Now, I am in a situation where I wish I had some money. Uh, I'm looking at at kind of wanting to do some things with my life now that I'm single again. It'd be nice to have like 11 or 12 grand right now. Um, but uh, what I'd really like to do is start my company. Right kind of when my wife decided to take off, I was in the process of starting a musical instrument company, and I would really like to do that. I feel like that would be very fulfilling. Um, but I can't do it to the extent where I'm going to hate guitar. Okay, so my idea with that is that I would get some people trained up so I can just go to being quality control at some point. I would have a lot of the load myself at first, I get that, but I think I'd try and, hire, 2 or 3 people a year when I was in a position to be able to do that, and kind of get them trained up to do all these things so that I can kind of sit in my office, be quality control, come up with designs and things like that. I think that that would be a very fulfilling occupation. And I was kind of on my way to doing it, but I did not. I've had some issues with my investors, so that just did not go through. Um, I think that would be fulfilling, but I don't I I don't I don't know how people enjoy like their jobs. Uh, uh, you know, I, I wish I had a better answer. I just don't. I don't. I realize also that there are other motivations. I have Joe and Jenny here, who are pretty good motivations, but you know, I don't have a huge house to pay for. I don't have kids, um, or anything like that. Um, I'm in a pretty good amount of personal debt at this point. Um, but again, that's just a matter of you know, dealing with it, I guess. But um, yeah, I wish I understood all of that a little bit better. Um, I might have some ideas as to where my ideals there went wrong as well. I don't know that that would be an appropriate thing to do a YouTube video about. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Because it would again seem like I'm throwing someone close to me under the bus, and there's just no other way to go about it. So I think that if you want an answer to that question, it might ask me personally, and I'll get with you personally somehow. But anyway, I hope that that's provided some insight into kind of the period in time my life went wrong. Between 97 and '03. That's kind of where I needed to make things work, and I just didn't. I don't think I succeeded. Obviously, I didn't succeed there. Um, you know, I had relatives that were already computer programmers and done with college at that point, and they'd gone to a 4-year college, and I was just going to a 2-year college. It was difficult to pay for. I didn't qualify for scholarships and stuff, but anyway, I'm digressing a bit. The video's gone long. Thanks for sticking to the end. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. I'm really trying to grow my channel. Check in with me here and there, and good night. Goemonronin, signing out.